A summer scene that is typically Australian. Beaches crowded with seekers of sun and surf. Over 70% of our population lives on the coastline, and around its 12,000 miles are some of the world's finest beaches. Each weekend, and for some lucky ones, the days between as well, the objective of young Australians is to beat the summer heat. They claim this way has no equal. Before they can walk, many get their first feel of the water, and the more fortunate are encouraged to learn to swim even at an early age. From such youngsters have come the champions that have made Australia a top swimming nation. Charlton, Ryan, Marshall, Hendricks, Conrads, and perhaps greatest of all, Murray Rose. His achievements in Olympic and Commonwealth Games have brought a collection of gold medals and world records unequaled by any other swimmer. Looks easy, doesn't it? Murray is an inspiration to those who watch his daily training. Lap after lap of strenuous routines that fit him to meet and beat the world's best. But becoming a champion is not our theme. Becoming a swimmer is the message Murray brings. He was shocked by recently published figures of deaths by drowning in Australia. This country where most of us live by the water. This country that has produced so many great swimmers.
Every year in every country where children like to go fishing or boating or just play near the water in the summer, thousands are drowned because they couldn't swim, often because they couldn't take maybe half a dozen strokes which would have brought them to safety. One such needless tragedy occurred recently in an Australian river. It took place shortly before I returned from the University of Southern California to swim in the 1962 British Commonwealth Games. 4 carefree youngsters, not one over 10, not one able to swim, went fishing for trout. That was the actual reenactment of a tragedy which could have been avoided had that ill-fated youngster been able to swim. Unfortunately, man is not equipped by nature to swim instinctively, like, for example, this puppy. Come on, fella. You're going to take a swim in the interest of saving human life. Some Pacific Islanders teach their children how to swim almost before they can walk. This young man learnt when he was only 18 months old. Come on, Tarzan. Show us how easy it is. Most parents, of course, wait until their children are between 4 and 9 years old before having them taught how to swim. I was 5 years old when my parents hired my coach, Sam Hoford. Sam's still my coach, and he still uses the same techniques in teaching people how to swim. Sammy, how about showing us how you start with a raw recruit?
Sam's teaching methods, like those of other successful coaches, aim at first gaining the youngster's confidence. Little Laura is just 6. She must start by becoming used to putting her face underwater and holding her breath for a count of 5. At first, a pretty quick 5. Next, she must learn that without Sam's support, her body will float. Only a short distance at first, but it's at this stage that patience pays dividends. Then the kick, which will play such an important part in propelling her through the water. Sam is pleased with progress. Arms are straight as they sweep through the motion that must be perfected. Holding her breath, she then puts theory to practice. Finally, the breathing, probably the most difficult lesson for the beginner, but also one of the most important. Here the procedure is reversed to normal. Laura must learn to breathe in through her mouth and out through her nose or mouth while her face is underwater. Still in Sam's safe hands, she attempts to combine all she's learnt. And for a first try, it's not bad. As with most beginners, the correct kick presents a problem. Laura is bending her knees too much, but a run on the kickboard will soon iron out faults. Now the breathing's right and the kick is improved. So one last check of all points before a solo effort. Sam is first to agree that not all youngsters are such apt pupils, but his methods have never failed, even if sometimes it takes a little longer. Laura is real championship material and has her sights set on Olympic gold medals in about 1976.
Well, you've just learned something you'll never forget. Now you know you never have to be afraid of the water, and perhaps someday you may be able to save someone from drowning. Of course, if you like swimming enough and are prepared to spend most of your spare time training, you might develop into a champion. Let's have a look at some of Sam's top juniors. You never can tell, but in a few years or so, one of them might be a world beater.
Yes, they look good, and Sam is already predicting a great future for them. Jane Ferguson makes the difficult and strenuous butterfly stroke look easy. Kim Herford at 15 obviously shows the benefit of her father's teaching. Of the same age, Ted Wales, a finalist at recent state championships and certainly a future Olympic prospect.
It takes a lot of hard work to make a champion. I'd hate to think how many times I've swum up and down a pool like this. The same hard work lies ahead of you before you can hope to swim against the world's best. But believe me, if you make it, you'll feel mighty proud as you stand waiting to compete for your country.
Thank you, Mark.
Murray didn't tell you, but his gold medal tally in the Perth Games included one for the relay, another for the 440, and another for the 1650, in which he clipped an amazing 27 seconds off the record. Here then is a young man who is an inspiration to all boys and girls, and more particularly to the 40% who can't swim a stroke.
Well, that's about it. I hope this film makes everyone who sees it conscious of the necessity to have children taught to swim at as early an age as possible, particularly children who are afraid of the water. As you've seen, there's really nothing for them to be afraid of, and if they don't know how to swim, they're missing out on a wonderful sport and a wonderful experience. And what's even more important, once they learn, they swim and live.